If you're interested in building a business with rock-solid foundations that's primed for growth, then you've come to the right place. Not because today's special guest owns Australia's largest family-run stone business, but because he's doing it in a way that ensures steady, long-term growth that avoids the painful peaks and troughs of business. It's a not-so-rocky episode 648 of the 14-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing Podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of stoned marketing. Make of that what you will. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing ideas that help businesses just like yours to grow. And I do that through weekly in-depth conversations with successful business founders that have walked the path before us. You, infinitely more importantly, you're a motivated business owner, ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. As per usual, team, there's marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Now, last week I asked a small favour of you, my precious listener, and you delivered in spades. It was a simple request asking you to hit the follow or subscribe button on whatever podcast app you listen to me on. Many of you did it, and it has helped my rankings enormously. So thank you for those who did. It means this podcast is more discoverable, and as a result, more small business owners just like you are going to benefit from it. Plus, the bigger this show gets, the better the guests get and the better informed you become. So again, thank you if you've done it. If you're yet to do it and you've enjoyed or benefited from this podcast, please go ahead and hit the follow or subscribe button right now. A quick membership update, a very, very big thank you to all the motivated business owners who've already joined my Patreon to support the work I do for small business. And a very warm welcome to new members, Matt Sozameko, Steve Petrie, Jess O'Connor, Dave Musgrave, and Sue Ellen Pierce. Thank you guys. And like I said, a big warm welcome. In the past couple of weeks, I've added a few more marketing ideas I've seen in my travels with the sole aim of helping your precious business grow. I've uploaded the full video of my chat with Dr. Katrina Wallace about AI for small business. Wowee, didn't that stir the pot? And the interview I did with Matt Rard from the E-Business Institute, another one that really kind of piqued many listeners' attention. So you can watch the full video interviews of those if you're a member. Plus, I'm uploading fresh new content every week. If you're yet to join, give it some consideration as the tax-deductible $47 a month investment for the silver tier will pay for itself in no time, I have no doubt. And you can trial it free for 7 days without obligation. So guess what? Nothing to lose and plenty to gain, as a number of members have already made back much more than that monthly investment. Join now at patreon.com/marketing podcast. Now, on with the show. As an immigrant tiler, Jason Gittany's father started Gitany Stone in 1974. At the time, it was a modest business providing exceptional supply and installation of marble stone benchtops and other stone products to homes across the Sydney metropolitan area. Pretty simple. Fast forward to 2023, and Jason's now running the business, having taken it from a modest one-man show to now one of Australia's premier family-owned stone suppliers and installers, employing 60 staff and turning over $40 million. They even own their very own Australian quarry, which is pretty cool, whilst still importing from a quarry outside of Florence, Italy, where Michaelangelo once acquired his stone for the likes of creating David and some of his other famous works. How's that for a 6 degrees of separation? Wowee. In this candid chat, Jason shares what he calls his steady strategies for growing the business, and I love the word steady. He talks about how he builds loyal, trusted client relations and how he targets both B2C and B2B customers, each one requiring something just a little bit different. Just as a side note, I interview a B2B sales expert in next week's episode, so look out for that if that's of interest to you. I started off by asking Jason to describe the most extravagant project Gitany Stone has ever delivered. Jason Gitany, welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Jason, I think we should start off by having you share what would be the most extravagant or craziest job you've ever been responsible for at Gitany Stone.
Sure. That's a difficult one in my field because really, we're all about extravagance here at Gittany, very high-end projects. But probably one in particular we've just recently completed. It's a private residence in Vaucluse, quite a famous, well-known personality. The total stone package for this one home was just over $8 million. So, yeah, exactly. So you can imagine the detail and the amount of stone that actually went into this place.
$8 million. So, I mean, I don't know how much you can tell us, but what's the home worth prior to the stone coming in?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, obviously they keep it close to their chest, but from what I can see in the build and so on, it's got to be over $50 million build.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's quite amazing.
So how did that job come in to you?
Yeah, well, good question, because prior to, basically the designer on this project, he was the designer for a very large project we did, which I could name John Simon, Aussie Home Loans at Point Piper. And that was one of our trophy jobs, really. That kind of put us on the map for this very high-end market. And so his name, Jeff, very nice man. He's retired now and, obviously knew we were capable of doing the work and put us forward.
That's it's a good referral.
Fantastic referral.
Do you do anything for that person who refers you? Do you have a referral strategy?
Well, I mean, look, it's more like they become friends to us, to be honest, Tim. Like we, as a friend, of course, we help them out wherever we can. It kind of goes two ways in this industry, but it's not a payment. It's not a under the table.
It's an acknowledgement.
It's an acknowledgement, and it's me referring him to other people. It's that kind of to and froing. I don't get into the business of paper bags and things like that. Yeah. It gets you in a lot of trouble, and to be honest, it's not morally, it's not right. So,
mate, what kind of Italian are you? Yeah. You're clearly not from like Sicily or something.
I've got a lot of paper bags, but I just don't use them.
They're all empty.
Exactly.
So now,
well, actually, I'll just correct you there. I'm actually not Italian background. I'm Lebanese background.
Oh, there we go.
A lot of people don't realise that, but anyway, it's
Gee, I could have with the name Gitany. I mean, and I'm looking at your staff on your website, and it looks like the cast from The Godfather.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, well, my father spoke fluent Italian, which
there you go.
That we'll get to later, but yeah. Anyway, all good.
I recently read. In fact, I was in Italy. I know, despite you not being Italian, there's a lot of good stone in Italy,
of course,
from what I can guess. And I recently read Michelangelo's biography, The Agony and the Ecstasy, and it's got some beautiful romantic descriptions of Michelangelo visiting quarries and choosing the marble and just working with it and bringing it to life. I mean, quite beautiful, which I'm sure you have deep respect for. So I'm pretty keen to understand, Jason, before we get into the Gitany business, how does the stone business work? It seems just a very dirty, laborious kind of industry where you're just in sandy quarries all your life.
Yeah,
how's it work?
Not exactly. I mean, look, it's a very interesting industry, and honestly, once you're in the stone industry, you never get out of it. Basically,
you get stoned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, we won't touch on that one. But yeah, so effectively, it's quarried from the ground. Huge quarries where they pull out large blocks of stone, then it's processed into slab form or any kind of dimensional form, and then we then import that, or actually we have a quarry here as well that we producing from, and then we manufacture it into whatever is required to be installed in your homes. So it is a process.
It's a great example of value add, where you're just beginning with this raw product. I mean, you're beginning with part of the earth, and you turn it into these straight from the ground. Yeah. Do you own quarries, Jason, or how does that work?
We do, yes. We have a quarry in the middle of Queensland at the moment. It's a town called Chillagoe, which has probably I think there's 10 people that live in that town at the moment. but yeah, it's actually a disused site where they used to mine copper, and that's how it was found. So as they're drilling for the copper, there was plenty of resource of marble, which we took over the lease of.
Wow. So you own that quarry. Do you own quarries overseas, or you just buy stone from quarries overseas?
No, we just buy it from overseas. So we don't have any ownership, but we forge very strong contacts with the quarry owners themselves. Being a quarry owner ourselves, we obviously speak the same language, and those connections are vital in my industry for sure.
What's involved in owning a quarry? You buy a bit of dirt and then you can do what you want with it, or are there licenses involved? And I mean, you're obviously digging big holes in the ground.
Yeah, no, of course. There are licenses involved. It's a leased area. To be transparent with it, we are partners in this venture. It's basically leased off the government, so to speak, the landowners, and we have certain restrictions, obviously, of where we can quarry and how to refill the quarry and things like that. But it's pretty straightforward. Obviously, the costs involved is really the machinery required to extract the blocks.
Yeah, right.
And the know-how and the people to do it. Mm.
So is it like, I mean, I'm looking at the kind of stones you sell on your website: marble, granite, quartzite, onyx, all these different stones, travertine, limestone. Under the ground, let me be naive here. Well, I haven't studied geology, so I'm allowed to.
I haven't either, to be honest.
There you go. So is Australia underneath the ground here? Is there just all types of stone, or are there...
Huge.
It's huge, isn't it? So this is a totally not undiscovered, but undermined industry?
It's to give you put it into perspective. I mean, the quarry that we have licenses over, it's probably got 1,000 years in it. And that's just one part of Australia. So like in terms of the barrier to extracting all this is purely the cost. I mean, it really is. And until you have a product that is in high demand, then that becomes obviously more valuable, which enables you to pull out more material.
So if there is 1,000 years in the quarry that you own in Australia, and there is stone under the ground everywhere,
pretty much,
where is the rarity or the exclusivity of what you do? Is it that every now and then you come across, I don't know, some kind of marble vein that looks incredible, or are there certain types of stone that are actually rare?
Yeah, look, just to clarify, it's really not everywhere. I've probably overcooked that.
There's
one.
A lot of it, though.
But yeah, there's a lot of it, and where the rarity is the key, but there are other important specs on the stone, such as the density, the porosity, and so on. So every quarry has different properties. It's like different humans being a natural product. Some are good at running, some are good at swimming, and so on. And stone has exactly the same attributes, if you like. And the key to it is finding a good color, a nice color that everyone loves, and the properties being suitable for bench tops and longevity of stone.
Your dad started the business in 1974.
Yes, correct.
You took it over. Give us a sense of the size of Gitany stone in 2023, now having owned it for 49 years, coming up for 50 years.
Yeah, sure. Well, so we're employing close to I think it was the last count of close to 60 people. And we've been in the business, like I said, since 74. In the early days, it wasn't so much as of stone, to be honest with you. My father, when he started, was a tiler by trade. And very soon after that, he started importing tiles. As value started to increase, he started importing marble tiles. And that's basically how it all commenced in the stone side of things. I touched on it. My father actually speaks fluent Italian, so
there you go.
Yeah, so it was, the Italians loved him. The Lebanese guy coming from Australia speaks fluent Italian. They helped him a lot.
Is your old man still around?
He is, yeah. He's fit and healthy. Yeah, 80 years old.
What's he think of the business these days? Did he imagine it would ever be what it is? What's he say to you in those kind of quiet hours?
Well, look, put it this way. My dad's the kind of person, when I first introduced computers to the business back in the 90s, he had it on his desk and he literally almost threw it out the window. So
old school.
Yeah, old school. So, he was very hands-on. He would go, cut, measure, install. He'd do it all himself. And now when my dad comes to the factory and he sees only one person, moving the crane, or another person only driving and another person only cutting, it's like he goes, what are they doing? It's like, so,
these young bucks, they don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, but it's fun to have him. Like, he still comes in and, causes trouble and goes out. So that's good.
What's been your proudest moment since you've taken over?
Proudest moment? Geez, there's many, but being awarded that project, I was instrumental in that large one in Vaucluse. That's based on relationships that I built for over many years, and that I was very proud of that moment, and the rapport that I had with the client himself. It was like handshake, and then straight away paid a deposit. So I was pretty happy with that.
Let's talk about relationships, because you pride yourself in the business on building loyal, trusted client relationships. I had a real estate agent from Texas on this show a few years ago. He had sold the second biggest ranch in Texas for $998 million.
Wow.
And I asked him, I was expecting the big secret sauce of how did you get that listing and how did you get the buyer? Expecting some amazing strategy and answer. And he just paused and he said, and this is on the interview, he said, I just built relationships with the family that owned the ranch over a long period of time.
Yeah.
You're nodding your head.
Yeah.
Is that what you do? And how do you do it if it is?
100%, Tim. It's all relationships. I mean, these are the kind of projects we're being awarded today are purely forged from early on in the days of helping the people, knowing the different architects. It's that simple. It's that simple.
It's a long game.
A very long game.
So let's talk about the long game, because there's a lot of business owners who don't have the patience or the cash flow, or weirdly the tenacity, I guess, which sounds like an oxymoron, to play the long game. We want the sale, mate. We want to get the next client done and dusted. How do you manage that anxiety amongst you and your sales team, where you go, hey guys, we're going to meet this person today and he or she might not buy from us for 5 years. That's okay.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, like I've recently just put on a business development manager, and he's like buzzing at the moment, but he's like, the challenge is to try to have him relax. I don't pay my staff on I disagree completely with commissions and so on. So they're not kind of, buzzing to get the commissions, but they're buzzing to really have the notoriety of securing projects and so on. But basically what the key is to really start from the beginning of the relationship and help right through, and hoping, in the hope that, they just automatically come to you.
So what does that look like? Because, I mean, we're talking about a variety of customers. At the end of the day, you've got people like me who are doing a kitchen reno and need a slab of stone for their new bench, which is not a real, I mean, you're not going to build a relationship with someone like me necessarily over the course of years. I mean, but then you've got the $8 million Vaucluse contract and everything in between.
Yes.
So at the client relationship level, is that a lot of long lunches? Is it handwritten notes to say, how's it going? Any questions? What does it look like?
Okay. Well, like you touched on, there's different project sizes, if you like. And so take the mum and dad, if you like, with the kitchen renovation. Our relationships are forged with the kitchen companies themselves, the long-term relationships. And of course, their clients come in, we look after them, we show them the stones and so on. And for that period of time, obviously, and, sometimes a lot longer, we update them of how the project's going and so on. So the kitchen company does all the referrals, and they do it over a long period of time to all these little kitchens start coming on. Whilst the next size of the project, like the large homes where we're fitting out walls, floors, staircases, you name it, they're mainly from architects and designers that have the rapport of the client to begin with. And it's obviously on a larger scale. So those architects and designers throughout that whole process of their, lodgement of DA and designs and so on, they're going to need prototypes, they're going to need samples, they're going to need images, you name it, to assist in showing the clients what the end result's going to be. So all that takes time, takes money, takes effort, and we don't charge for that. And we just hope that that recommendation from the architects and designers, builders, so on, is strong enough to commit the client to work with us.
By not charging for that, Jason, does it get abused? Do you think you should charge for it? Is it a lost revenue stream? How does that work?
Yeah, look, it definitely lost revenue stream, but very rarely would we lose that revenue stream. So and that's because of the relationship. So yes, we might miss out on one project with that architect, but we're probably working on another project like physically doing the work on a project as we're trying to secure the next one. So it kind of gets lost in the mix, if you like. It's not something that I really worry about.
You clearly position yourself, well, it seems that you position yourself in the business as being super helpful. So the architects, the designers, the kitchen companies that you deal with may not know everything about stone.
Correct.
Probably feel like they have to in front of clients, but they use you as the trusted advisor.
Yeah, 100%. And this is where we assist and quite heavily assist, because as a designer, you look at something and it looks good, but how does it perform? Like the stone may need sealing every 2 months, or it may not need sealing at all. So that's the kind of information that they rely heavily on us, and they trust us because without that trust, they could be in trouble if they specify a stone that's not fit for application, fit for purpose. Sorry. Then they get in trouble as well as us.
I often say to my listeners, someone's got to be the most helpful in your industry. It may as well be you.
Exactly.
Because finding a point of difference these days is not easy. I mean, there's plenty of other stone suppliers, I'm sure, but you create that point of difference by being super helpful. I know you've got some steady ways that you've grown the Gitani stone business over the years. And I like the word steady, which was used in the pitch that was sent from your publicist, because I spoke to the fellow who owns Ferndale Foods a couple of weeks ago, big supplier to Aldi supermarkets of various confectionery items, and he too was a business owner not in a hurry. There's these nice, steady ways of growing the business. So I know you've got 5 of them. I wouldn't mind just working through them. Strategic partnerships,
Sure.
which we talk a lot about on this show. How do you go about building them?
Well, again, it's the partnerships with the architects, designers, and so on. They're the strategic ones. Of course, we love going to dinners and so on with these people. It's enjoyable. Like for me, it's just like going to dinner with a friend.
It's not work.
It's not work at all. And this sort of thing where we the larger projects, we tend to even fly them overseas where they can look at the quarries, see from start to finish what they're going to expect for their projects, and that excites the architects, of course. A little junket to Italy or Brazil or something like that is fun. It's exciting.
That's amazing, and creating so many stories. And if you can afford to do that, not every business can afford to take clients on junkets overseas, but you can apply that locally, and you can have days out, where you visit businesses locally. I think that's fantastic. One thing Gitani is very good at is investing in R&D and innovation.
100%.
And so is there an innovation process inside the business? What's that look like?
It's in my head. So
got an idea, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like and a lot of things probably the biggest decision I made, was a particular machine. It's a robot, and it's still the only one of its type in Australia. I've had it for almost close to 9 years now. When I first was told of the machine, I met the owner of the company in a fair in Italy, and so I didn't actually see it, but he was telling me about it. And then I had planned to fly over to America because that's where it was put together. And at that time, I broke my collarbone in a snowboard accident. Anyway, won't go there. But so then I couldn't fly over. And there was people telling me, you shouldn't be getting this machine. It's not accurate. It's not, not good for your market, and so on and so on. But I decided to go for it anyway. And thank God I did, because that really changed the whole productivity of my factory. It's just one of those decisions where, looking back, it was a huge risk. Like, we're talking $1 million machine, and buying it sight unseen. I took the gamble, and it's paid off immensely.
Wow. What did you know that others didn't?
Well, like when I met with the owner of the company, he told me, like, I felt his honesty, I felt his reliability. He did have a problem with the machine prior to it. He told me all about it. He told me how he fixed it. Like, he actually paid back the people for the machinery. And not that I trusted him fully. I kind of asked people around, and so I had a really good feeling about it all. And that feeling has paid off immensely. And I'm pretty proud of that moment, because everyone I spoke to was telling me not to. Like, when I say everyone, all the local suppliers of different machinery were laughing at me for even thinking about buying this machine. Clearly I didn't listen, and it's paid off.
I speak to many business owners, Jason. In fact, you're about the 648th, I think, that I've spoken to. And there's a number of scales that I can apply to people like you. But on the decision-making scale, there's that far left rational kind of approach to business, plans, strategy sessions, research, documentation, all that. And then on the other end, there's the feeling. And you've used the word emotion and feeling a lot in our brief chat so far. Yeah. At that other extreme, where do you live on that scale?
Oh, I'm all feeling. Like, for me,
all feeling.
Well, it's the only way to do. In my opinion, it's the only way to do business. I mean, I try to gauge the client before I even take a deposit off them, or before I even price the project. Especially the large ones. If I feel that they're not going to be a good client to me, or because I know it's going to sound funny, but money to me is not important. It's not why I'm here. It's not why I do what I do. It's I enjoy doing what I do. So the money will come because of that. Not I don't get excited over the money. So whilst other business owners might see a contract for $10 million and think, this is incredible. I'll look at it and say, is that $10 million contract going to be enjoyable for me? Is it going to help grow my company? Or is it going to be a real downer on the company? And that's all feeling. You can't look at the figure and say, this is a good contract. And that's really important to me.
It's such a cliche, isn't it? Do what you love and the money will come, they say. And then, and it appears that's the case. I mean, I also speak to a lot of business owners who have gone into an industry because they saw an undermarketed opportunity and they have no idea about the industry or the products they sell, but they're very good at business. So they're fully into the money because they're just looking for opportunities to build, grow, and sell, right?
Yeah.
And then you got people like you. I interviewed Brian Singer from Rip Curl, who started Rip Curl many years ago. I mean, the guy made a bloody wetsuit in a garage in Torquay with a World War II sewing machine, and he just loves what he does. He loves surfing, and so I'm not sure there's a right answer to it, but I personally love what you're doing. The money will come.
Well, for me,
approach.
It really, like I look at it, and people say, well, I'm in the stone industry, but for me, I feel like I'm in the fashion and the service industry, because that's all it is. It's dealing with people, knowing people what they need and want, and offering it to them. It's simple as that.
It's not brain surgery.
Well, it's honestly, it's not. It's not.
It's a very interesting thing that you said. It's like fashion.
Yeah.
And it's great that you acknowledge that, because it is. It's a bit scary too, fashion, because it comes in and out.
It does, but the material, natural stone will always stay in fashion.
Yeah.
It's just the colours might change. And this
it's like denim.
Exactly. You'll have different coloured denim, shapes, sizes, whatever, but it's still denim. And that's what stone is. And that's why we try to stay in the forefront of it by introducing new colours into the market. And those new colours, by the time other companies realise we're making money out of it, we've made our money and moved to the next colour. So we just continue to keep evolving in terms of the fashion side of it.
Jason, we've talked about a couple of ways of steadily growing the Gitani stone business: strategic partnerships, investing in R&D. You got a couple more for us?
Yeah. It's one I can't take the accolade for it, but my son started in the business a couple of years ago, and already it's made a huge difference in terms of the development of the business. One in particular, we've just recently installed a slab scanner, and what this is basically a full size machine scanner that takes a perfect image of the material, so it gives you a very high resolution image with millimeter of accuracy in terms of where the veins are and things like that in the stone. So that has two huge positives, in the sense all architects and designers they can tap into our database of what's actually in stock, see exactly what's available, the veins, everything like that. But it also goes a step further in the production side of things, where we're able to visually show our clients what the finished product's going to look like in terms of the vein matching, the book matching, all that sort of thing, before we even cut a piece of stone.
Wow.
So that's really important. I'll just diverse a little bit. When I remember years ago, before all this technology, obviously it's only recently been installed, but years ago we did a project where we book matched a marble island top, and the wife at that time came home, and she was disgusted because the actual book match turned out to look like a phallic symbol, and she wanted it changed. So.
Right. But what do you mean book match?
Book match is when you create almost like a butterfly effect with stone. So with two pieces of stone, when you join them together, it creates like a pattern. And
right. So you've matched these two bits of
well, we thought
stone.
We thought it looked amazing, but she came home and thought it was a symbol she wasn't happy with.
Mate, it sounds like a real cock up to me. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, so that's because we weren't able to show the client what it actually looked like. They wanted it matching, but how it turned out, well, suppose it's what you see.
Yeah.
So
what did you do?
Well, look, we never leave a client upset. I'll be honest. So we worked out ways to make her happy at the end of the day. I honestly can't remember if we changed her or what we did, but I know for a fact I wouldn't have left them upset. I can't keep everyone happy. Sometimes, we go above and beyond, and you kind of have to. You don't know what to do after that. So, but look, the point is now we're showing them what it's actually going to look like before we even cut a piece of stone. And that's work in progress at the moment. As you can imagine, we've got probably 5,000 slabs to scan. And they're all got to be uploaded, and then from there we can start this wonderful journey. Just
finishing on that phallic symbol, that whole premise of is the customer always right? 100%. Do you believe in that, or is 100%?
Yeah. It look,
really.
What I find is if the customer's not educated properly, and this is something that we are true believers of, is we before we even cut a piece of stone, we explain everything about the stone. So we give them all the properties, all what they can expect, what happens in installation if we chip a piece or crack a piece, how we fix it, what we do. So we're upfront with everything. There are occasions, where the client isn't updated with everything, and they think we're doing something wrong or whatever. But at the end of the day, they're right. We're at the beck and call of the client. It's as simple as that.
Of course.
And look, as I was touched on, we just can't keep everyone 100% happy, but 99.9% of the time, we'll ensure that that's done. And that's key to our referral base.
You touched on the idea that you let the client know about how the stone's going to perform and all that sort of technical information.
Yes.
Do you actually, just going back to the emotion of the business, do you actually share the story of that slab? Is there some kind of, with wine, or I'm trying to think of another product where there's that heritage story? Oh, this came from this quarry's famous for this and that. And,
yeah, of course.
Something that over a dinner party, the client can go, see our kitchen bench, that's from... You do.
Yes, 100%. You touched on it about the Michaelangelo quarry earlier in the interview. We actually still import from that same quarry. So where Michelangelo extracted the block to create his masterpieces is we're still
that's awesome.
Importing from that quarry, and we know the quarry owner very well. So they're the sort of stories that we do. Well, not stories; they're facts that we give to the clients. And it gives that real, how do you explain it? It just gives it the credibility, if you like.
There's this incredible, my definition of a brand is that it's an emotional attachment.
Definitely.
And I think that's what you're doing with the stone. How do you actually provide, is it just a verbal, when they're fitting it, someone says, hey, by the way, this slab's come from Michelangelo's quarry, or is there a more formal way where you give them a handwritten signed letter from the boss, or what does that look like?
It's not formal. It's more when the clients come because we insist that clients come choose their material before anything happens. At that point, that's where we explain everything, we show everything, we give them the story of everything. And they love that. Like it's part of the journey. We even show them how we make everything here in our factory. So, and this is where we differ to other companies, because we handle the whole process. They see it from start to finish. It's quite incredible what we do, to be honest.
What role AI in the business, Jason?
Yeah, I laugh because just recently I had I was invited to the KBDI Awards night, where I had to do a speech to introduce my company and so on. And I thought, geez, what am I going to do?
You went to ChatGPT and had it written, didn't you?
I did. It's my son's always talking about it. I thought I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, he gave me probably 90% of what I wanted to say,
yes.
But of course I had to change it a bit. But look, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that that's going to be a huge thing in time to come. How it's going to affect my business, I think it can only improve in the terms of well, for me, you'll never have a robot, carving stone and so on. Even though it's a dream thing, I don't think it'll ever happen. But definitely for the admin side and especially smaller companies where they don't have marketing people or people that can write efficiently. It's going to be a huge thing.
You're a big believer in old school marketing. You've got a number of different sort of target audiences in the sense that you've got to appeal to the mums and dads, residential market, who go through kitchen companies. Then you've got builders and architects. So there's quite a number of different audiences that you've got to appeal to. If we could just break it down, let's start with B2C and then work our way into B2B marketing. So business to consumer, what are you doing at that level? Anything, or do you just rely on the kitchen companies?
Look, early days back in the 90s, I invested heavily in the magazine side of things, and being a visual product. So people love seeing stone in bench tops and walls and floors. They see it and they fall in love with it and they come to source it. So at that time, that the magazines was a huge thing for us. I did put a fair bit of money into that, and it was definitely worth every cent. These days, I've completely. I don't do any print advertising as such, and even to only recently, probably in the last year or so, we've started to ramp up our Instagram. That social media side of things, which is really quite effective. Again, because we're such a visual company, a visual product. When people see something and looks amazing, then clearly they want it.
I would have thought social media would be. I'm not a great fan of it. I see the power of it, but I see a lot of time wasted on it by business owners. But a business that's so visual like yours and requires so much creative inspiration on behalf of the client that Instagram and Pinterest in particular would just be an absolute blessing.
Correct. It really is showing to be quite important, and the referrals we get and the sort of introductions we get because of it is quite impressive, to be honest.
So that's at a B2C level. So no advertising, some social media. You've got the kitchen companies putting you forward to the mums and dads as they come into their showrooms. B2B, how does that differ? We've talked about strategic partnerships. We've talked about building relationships. Do you do anything at a paid level to get in front of them, like industry events or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to invest, if you like, in the industry events. So recently we did that KBDI one, which I touched on, and they're designer awards. So we're given an opportunity during that award night to obviously speak about our company. And again, they're strategic. They're targeted at the designers and architects that are very influential in making the decisions of who does the stonework for the client. And that's what we're really focusing on from this point.
Yeah, I like that. So those awards, what's KPDI stand for?
Oh, sorry, it's Kitchens and Bathrooms to Design Industry.
Okay.
Or something like that.
So you take a sponsorship package of that, it gets you in front of an audience that you want it's 100% the audience
Correct.
you want the attention of.
Yeah.
Gets you on stage to make a speech, you get branding. Yeah,
Correct.
To me that makes absolutely perfect sense.
Yeah, so there, for example, only on the weekend it was they had 250 people and they're all designers who are in the running for awards. So they're obviously the top end designers. You can't get better exposure. So
amazing.
Yeah, it was very good.
You've got you're 49 years in. You've got your 50th anniversary coming up next year.
Thanks for reminding me.
Do you make a hoo-ha about that, or is that just business as usual?
Oh, I thought you were talking about my age. I'm actually 50. I'm actually 50 next year as well. But
there you go.
Yeah, look, I think we should be in business side of things. I think we definitely should be making a big song and dance about it because. If you look at my ASICS search, you'll see it's the same entity throughout the whole period. Yes, there's been name changes along the way, At first, my father was called COD Ceramics, which quite inventive. So,
Cash on delivery.
Yeah, but he used to say it was come over darling ceramics. So it was
Love it.
Yeah.
Much more appropriate.
Yeah. So then we when I got involved in the early 90s, we changed it to marble and granite art, which kind of encapsulated the stone side of things. And then in 2000, after meeting a very influential owner of a huge quarry, he told me you must change your name to be more personal. So, he said, what's your surname? I said, Gitani. He said, well, that's it. You're calling it Gitani stone. So I said, okay. And then we changed it.
But am I right in saying your surname ends in, it's Gittany?
Correct. Yes.
The name of the business is Gitani.
Yes. Yeah. There's an explanation.
You've got to explain that, mate.
It's just to confuse people. No. Well, basically, being Lebanese background, we have it was French origin, if you like French influence. Yep. So Gitani is how it was originally spelled back in Lebanon. When my grandfather came out, I think it was early 40s or 50s from memory, or no, I think 50s. Anyway, he Australianized the name by spelling it Gittany, and that's how that's come about. So I thought,
well, I think a bit of confusion's healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to, you got to keep them guessing at some point.
Yeah.
So, Jason, it's a great story, mate. I love slow business. The more I interview business owners who aren't in a hurry, I think it's just such a, I don't know, there's something very peaceful about it. And I can see it in your face even, mate. As I said, I've spoken to a lot of them. I've spoken to some stressed ones.
Yeah.
I've spoken to some miserable ones. You just love what you do. You've got that stoned look on your face.
Oh, thanks.
I admire it. Gitani Stone, Gitani stone.com.au. If you've got an $8 million build, then Jason is your man.
Well, I mean, we could do the small chopping boards as well, and that's where we where we excel.
Hey, I'm sure the small chopping boards have turned into big jobs over time. You just never know.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for sharing your story, Jason. I think it's a great one.
Thank you very much, Tim. Appreciate your time. See you.
Well, there you go, team. Gitani Stone owner and CEO Jason Gitani. Hey, what a contrast to last week's episode where we chatted to Australia's leading AI expert, Dr. Katrina Wallace. Wow, nothing quite like a bit of new world followed by some old world marketing. I think just between you and I like the old world. It feels safer and easier. If you'd like to join the discussion about this episode, then you can join the Small Business Big Marketing Tribe on Facebook. It's free and it's fun and it's effective. I'll see you on the inside. Righto, it's time for you to take action on what you have learned, because ideas remain exactly that, without action. If you'd like to support the work I do for small business and want even more of me, then you can check out my exclusive business owner membership over at patreon.com/marketing podcast. 7-day free trial. Why wouldn't you? Next week, we meet the co-founder of Bindi Maps, an app that's making a name for itself by mapping not the outdoors, but the indoors. And the co-founder who I interview is also a B2B sales expert. So if you're looking for some tips about how to sell to other businesses, seriously, you are going to love next week's episode. A big thanks to editor Sam Heathcote for stitching the marketing gold together, and to our in-house rock star Lockie Doley for the music bed. More importantly, or most importantly really, a big thanks to you for lending me your ears and tuning in. I know you're busy, I know time's precious, and I appreciate your support like you wouldn't believe. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.